So good morning, everyone. I am Sipesihle Booi from the Nelson Mandela University, and I'm in the economics department. So I will be talking about the valuation of the Swartkops and the Sundays estuaries, with the main focus on the application of the choice experiment and also the travel course method. So this was part of my master's work, and my master's work was also part of a bigger project with under the Sun Ocean project in collaboration with the Norwegian Institute for Research. Okay, sorry. So as we all know that natural resources are important for human well-being, social well-being, and also the global economy. But now, the problem is that assigning an economic value to these resources or to these public goods that we've been talking about in the past 2 days is that it is complicated because they are not in the market. So which means now the lack of the suitable valuation of those resources, it also compromises their management. But now, despite all these problems and also difficulties, there have been a variety of methods that have been developed, such as the stated preference method and also the revealed preference method that have been developed to try and evaluate the public goods. So under the stated preference method, we have the contingent valuation method and also the choice experiment method. Then on the revealed preference technique, we have the hedonic pricing method and the traveling cost method. So my study was only focusing on the two, which is the choice experiment method and the traveling cost method. When we're talking about the choice experiment method, it is a survey-based approach that is used for modeling the preferences of goods and services. So now these goods and services are defined with different levels of attributes. Then, this method, it is based on the internet behaviors of the users of the estuaries or any of the public goods. Then it is also suitable for policy decisions, and it is also have the ability to break down the values that are associated to the policy change, to the implicit values that are related to particular attributes. But now, the problem about this method is that it requires more time and also expertise for the survey design. Then now, when it comes to the travel cost method, so the idea of the travel cost method is to estimate the value of the recreational use of estuaries and by relating their demand to the cost of visiting those estuaries or those public goods or the other resources. So the travel cost method, it is based on the actual behaviors, and it is also easy to interpret, and also it is easy to explain. But now, the challenge about the travel cost method is that it cannot assess the non-use values, and also it cannot be used to assign the on-site environmental features that the users did not use or they did not find attractive. So before I decided to use these two methods, I conducted a systematic review that was based on the valuation of the provisioning and also the cultural ecosystem services, and also now the different methods that can be used to value the ecosystems that we have. So this was also part of my master's research because I was also evaluating the provisioning and also cultural ecosystem services that people are benefiting from. So the key points from my systematic review was that most of the research on the value of the ecosystem services were mostly conducted globally, and there were only a few studies that were conducted here in South Africa. So which means now there is a need for more research into the value and also the conservation of the estuarine ecosystem services in the understudied geographical areas. Then, after my systematic review, I then decided on the two options, on the two methods, with the choice experiment method and also the traveling cost method, with the aim to assess how much estuary users valued the certain estuary attributes, and also to look into their preferences for the management options. And also now to estimate the economic value of the Swartkops and also the Sundays estuaries in the Algoa Bay in the Eastern Cape. So I bring the numbers. So these were my study areas, which was the Swartkops estuary and also the Sundays estuary. As you can see, this is the Swartkops estuary just outside of 𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐻 in the Eastern Cape, as well as the Sundays estuary. It is also just 30 kilometers away from 𝐵𝐵𝐺. So they are both under the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, and they flow into the Algoa Bay in the Indian Ocean. Then I collected my data between the periods of December 2021 and April 2022, and there were big delays in my data collection because of the COVID-19 regulations. But I did the online survey questionnaires and also the face-to-face survey questionnaires. However, there was a low response on this online survey questionnaires because I have to remove a lot of them because they were not completed. But I ended up having 47, but there was a high response on the pen and paper survey questionnaires. I ended up having 196 in both the Swartkops and also the Sundays estuaries. And then now, So from the results of my study, I found that both estuaries, the Swartkops estuary and also the Sundays estuary, were dominated by the males, which were between the ages of 36 to 45 years. And in the Swartkops estuary, there were more Black African and also white people, while in the Sundays estuary, there were only white people and also colored people, and we didn't find any Black Africans. And when it comes to the type of fishing that was happening in these estuaries, both the estuaries were dominated by the recreational fishing and also the substance fishing. But now in Swartkops estuary, there was also substance fishing and also the bait collection. Then, when it comes to the choice experiment in the survey questionnaires, the participants were given different choice sets. In each choice set, there was two options, option A or option B. And all of those options are represented by the different levels of attributes. For instance, in the Swartkops estuary, the attributes included the effective way to manage or protect the estuarine resources from over-harvesting, with option A being no limit on boat collection, and option B being to set a restriction of 50 bait collection per person each day. So option B, it also represented the distance core. Then another one was the access control. Option A, no need for access control. And then option B, the access control. Then another one was the number of access points. Option A was to add more access points during the peak season only. And option B was to leave the access points as they are right now. So we also checked their willingness to pay to keep the estuary's water quality clean. Option A represented to pay 65 rands, and option B was not to pay anything at all. And then in the Sundays estuary, the attributes were quite different. So the first one was the boat congestion or control limit. So option A represented them with an increase the vehicle entry fee by 30 rand to try and limit the number of boats that are accessing the estuary. Then option B was the vehicle entry fee. It remains the same. Then now another one was to the minimum amount that should be paid for the boat licensing per annum. Option A, it was to pay the minimum 240, and then option B was to leave it as 274. The last one was the controlled public access. Option A was to have no controlled public access, and then option B was to leave it as it is controlled. Then now our results for the travel cost, for the choice experiment, it showed that the options in both estuaries, they were distinct, and there is also a higher likelihood that an estuary user in the Sundays estuary will select the alternative option, which is option A, and not the status quo. And in the Swartkops estuary, there is also a higher likelihood that an estuary user from there is also going to choose the alternative option, which means no limit on bait collection and also to pay the 65 rands for having a clean water. Then now for the second aim, which is to assess the economic value of the estuaries, I conducted the travel cost method. So now this method, it focuses on the daily trip cost and also the number of days that they are visiting the estuary each year. So the travel cost method, it helps us to get the consumer surplus, and the consumer surplus, it signifies an additional amount that the users are prepared to pay above what they are already currently spending when they are visiting the estuaries. And it also shows us that there is a room for introducing the charges and also levies without limiting or reducing the access and also use. So the users from the Sundays estuary, they were willing to pay 1,000 Rand to still visit the estuary and also as many times as they are doing right now. Then in the Swartkops estuary, they were willing to pay 333 Rand more and still visit as many times as they are doing right now. So when the users are visiting the estuary, they are always spending money, whether they're spending on food and beverages, on petrol, transportation, boat fuel, or the fishing gear. So now I took all those expenditures from the estuary users and then I multiplied them by the Nelson Mandela Bay, multiplier of 1.6 to now and try to get how much are they generating to the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. So as you can see here that the Sundays estuary users, they are generating 3,525,000 to the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, while the Swartkops users, they are generating 7,534,000 to the Nelson Mandela municipality. So now the current expenditure per trip multiplied by that 1.6, which is our multiplier, it shows us now how many times each Rand changes hands in the economy. So which means now this is our total economic value of these two estuaries to the economy. Then this shows now that the estuary users or the use of the estuaries, it is contributing to our economy. So which means now the primary issue is to try and extract the resources from the estuaries in a sustainable way while we're also protecting them, because they can help us grow the economy if they are managed well and also they are used in a sustainable way. So another thing is that my study was only focusing on the use values. So all those methods that I explained, the 4 of them, they can be used for use values and also non-use values. So which means now there's still values that haven't been explored. For example, the non-use values like existent values and also the values for further generations. So which means now there is still a need for more studies in South Africa about the value of the ecosystems, because it is more easy for our decision makers to make a decision when there is an economic value. Another thing, my study was focusing only on the provisioning and also the cultural ecosystem services. So there is still a need to include the regulating and also the supporting ecosystem services to try and get a picture of the total economic value of the total ecosystem services. Thank you.